Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello everybody, welcome to our Wednesday, the Leading Change episode this week with Tanzil Choudhury. Hi Tanzil, welcome back.
Hey, Vasco, same here. Thank you for having me again.
So, Tanzil, on Wednesdays, we explore change for us as Scrum Masters, who are, of course, at the end of the day, change agents. And in order to be an agent of change, we need to learn how to lead change, how to become the example of the change that we need to help grow in the organizations that we work with. And for that, we want you to come and share with us a story of that change moment where you learned a lot, a change moment you were involved with, and also walk us through how it happened, like what were the steps that the change went through, but also share with us the tips, the tricks, the tools, the techniques you learned back then that you still apply today.
I think so. I'll take this back to my current commitment or current organization I serve. I joined this particular organization about little over a year ago as a team coach. And as I started working with multiple teams, if I'm not mistaken, they are about a year into their Agile journey. Initially, the organization went to go Agile. They identified a couple of product owner, a couple of Scrum Master within the organization, sent them for a 2 days class, and came back, started doing Scrum. Very soon they realized that this 2 days class gives you a certification, but wearing those different hats of a Scrum Master, who would even coach the product owner, became a challenge. The Scrum Master who were wearing the Scrum Master hat, they could not let go completely their other responsibility as a developer or an analyst on the team. So they were wearing dual hat as a new hat as well. So coming into that organization, what helped over a period of time serving different organizations and different teams, I learned that my goal is to meet them where they are. However, I started communicating with them that my responsibility is not to let them stay where they are. I will meet them where they are, but I will keep challenging them, or I will keep finding ways to keep improving so that we move away or we keep improving as a team. I also had to be careful where I do not take too many action items to improve at once and really prioritize on what action item I want to take initially to improve. So initially, first few months, it was design improvement. I observed the teams, I observed what are the biggest impediments or not so good practices, and I took those as an action item to improve. I would even come up with topics at the retro. And as the team started maturing, I started having team more give feedback, identify what they need to improve. One of the example, initially when we started, first few weeks or few sprints, I facilitated the stand-up. But I wanted to move away and let the team own the stand-up. So one of the teams started taking the responsibility, or both the teams started taking the responsibility of they will rotate the facilitation of the stand-up within the team member. One team still at that level where they only facilitate the stand-up and rotate the facilitation of the stand-up. But there's another team grew into where they facilitate the Scrum Master responsibility every sprint. So somebody within the team takes over the Scrum Master responsibility, but I could not judge both the team to mature at the same level. I learned that I need to give space to each team to grow into their own pace.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, and this kind of like it's a step-by-step journey. You were talking about how you can't take too many improvements at first, and maybe you start by suggesting things, concrete things for the team, but then you start by standing back a little bit and letting them take over, like the daily stand-up, as you were saying. How do we get them to the next level, though? How do we get the teams, and were you able at this, if not in this, then in other assignments, to take the team to the level where they themselves are taking over the improvement? So not the Scrum Master role, not the daily stand-up facilitation, but rather that they themselves are pushing the improvements, finding and pushing the improvements forward.
Great question. I think the two things I tried my best with this current organization and maybe some little bit in the past is explaining to the team or trying to reinforce on the team that as a Scrum Master, I'm going to wear different hats at the different time. I'm going to go between facilitator to trainer to coach to the mentor, and not any given single time I'm going to wear all four hats at the same time or continuous wearing the same hat. But giving the purpose to a session or event was very important too. We do stand up or we do refinement. Why do we even need to do a refinement? So again, the purpose of refinement was very important for the team. A better refinement leads to a better planning. Now, okay, we agree on that. They saw the fruit of refinement led to an effective planning. But now how do we even improve the refinement? Okay, we talked about the definition of ready. If we have a definition of ready, if we get the ticket to definition of ready, that would allow us to pull that ticket into sprint planning during the sprint, planning to the sprint. So giving a purpose to each of those, not just doing it because Scrum Guide or, Jira says it, just because we have it in the Jira column called block. What is the even purpose? Goal is not to put item in the block. Goal is to discuss as a team and remove the blockage, keep it transparent. So again, giving a purpose to each of them was, and as a team when understood that if they follow through the purpose, if they understand the purpose of that event and they improve on that, then next session will become more productive. Definition of ready to definition of done. There were carried over tickets. There were tickets always in half complete. Now we put together a definition of done, and which allowed the definition of done to team to become more predictable. They can really see end of the sprint the ticket mid definition of done they even to call it complete. So again, did not happen overnight. We are still in the process of improving, but I believe both the team came long way, and I feel proud of where they are at this stage compared to a year ago.
As you said earlier, also every team has their own journey, right? And we need, as Scrum Masters, we need to keep our ears open to find out what each team needs. You talked about some different aspects that we might want to pay attention to. You also talked about giving purpose for the sessions, explaining why the sessions make sense in the scope of the team and what they are trying to achieve. And I can't help but think that maybe a lot of this happened. I don't know. That's why I'm asking. Maybe a lot of this happened through retrospectives, or what were the moments that you found as a Scrum Master to kind of bring it back to purpose, explaining why we're having these sessions and inform them about the need of the definition of ready and why the definition of ready helps with the planning, right? Like, what were the moments that you saw were the best to address the team about these topics that you shared with us?
So I think so at this stage, we use really focus retro for that improvement opportunities. But initial stages, I would say, while I was facilitating, going between facilitator and trainer, I was thinking so I did it on the fly because there was a lot of things needed to improve. Yes, I understood not everything needed immediate attention, but I wanted to get into the phase, hey, we are doing it's not the best practice or the better practice, but we are doing it, but let's continue finding opportunities. I'm a firm believer of storyteller. They can care less what the best practice or better practice is, but if I can connect them with a story from my past experience, it opens up the heart. It opens up the acceptance of my story where, hey, there was a team I served in the past was in the same shoe. And you know what? This is what they tried and this is the result they got. I talk about the output and impact. That is very important. Yes, they want to change, but what will be the outcome? What will be the impact? They need to know that. Once I shared the story, I'm keeping my finger crossed. I'm hoping somebody within the team supports me on that. And I turn the turn around and I tell, hey, since you agreed on this, will you like to experiment? Will the team like to experiment? So again, I think it's phase by phase, but at this stage, I try to keep it at the retro because both the team more or less got into a culture where each retro, they're living with 1 to 3 action item. And I do not want to overwhelm them with too many improvement opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something we need to be aware of, right? Because meeting teams where they are also means not pushing our agenda, but rather helping them to come up with their own agenda of improvements.
That's correct.
That was a great story. Thank you for sharing, Tanzil.
You're welcome, Vasco.
Leading change is one of the core skills we must acquire, but it is only one of the steps towards our success as Scrum Masters.
Tomorrow, on Success Thursday, we will talk about how to define success for the Scrum Master role. We'll cover tips on how to measure your way to that position, and most importantly, how to develop that focus on continuous improvement that is as important for Scrum Masters as it is for teams. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.